can look for eliminations, as you see sitting in the code, allows him that opportunity to find these rotations as well. You see just bouncing away through the crash pads, doesn't have to worry about it. A squeeze is going to fall there in the feed. That's an important one to note there, because we talked about it, we hyped him up, falling down before that 40th placement threshold as well. He's not going to end on a lot of points. The question is, how many points can Froggy end up on? How many points can the rest of the lobby end up on as this game continues to go on? We see Kiriachi, we see Mongrel, we see Letwick there in your screen as well. And Froggy looks to have taken high ground with that. The shots go through. He's going to get that player down to low HP. It's Tammy going down. What a huge pickup there by Froggy, but he's not done yet. There's another player on the other side. So he does disengage, so he does have mats to build around with and to just drop down layers if he wants to. It seems he's content on focusing around high ground.
Yeah, and Benji and Hen also picking up a pair of elims there in the feed as we close in on the next placement threshold. It'll be top 30, and then every 5 players going down. Storm Surge will also turn off his top 30, and we're closing in on it. There it is. Scouts picking up a pair to make sure he gets there. That's ADN and Diablo, who we saw yesterday going down. Thomas also goes down, and then Become Legends Rifle picks up Benji Fishy. Deceptos ends up getting Skite as well going down there. Lechy picking up Styler, but we're still on board here with Quartz Froggy, and we saw how much work he can do on the mid-ground tarp here, and he's continuing to run through with that charged shotgun, picks up Scouts as well, and we're in through another placement threshold. So this is what happens as we start getting in the moving circles. All the action for us, so keep an eye. Flois all the way up on the high ground. Kiko has priority on the low ground, and then everyone else is the tarp in between. But Hen and Reason are still up on the mid-tarp.
I think Flois was able to pick up that shockwave launcher from what it looked like. He may have used the crash pad to take it, but Mongrel, I believe, going to fall there on the backside. Rezon still in this game, getting eliminations. Hid, thing on 4. Crash pad will come out here for Hid. He does have a lot of materials left. Carrot picking up 3 eliminations there on the backside. As shots come through on the Hid, he is going to be able to block it off, and the capitalization there on the Snazy will be good as he realized already losing HP. Kensel going to take down a player there as well. Anas going to fall. Lois does have what it seems like a crash pad to maintain high ground, but Bad Sniper coming up. Decepto's coming up as well. Everybody is coming up for high ground. Rezon just trying to make it through.
And everyone pushing for the high ground right now, but not necessarily paying attention to what's going down the low ground where people are cleaning up on eliminations. You have Flois in your top right, Froggy in your bottom right, everyone else on the wide. You can see Flois is up on that ultimate high ground. Deceptos and Hen down on that low ground with Reason just above them. Froggy waiting for his opportunity, but keep an eye on the number of builds because we're getting down to the final one. Flois going to pick up an elimination there, and he's doing a really good job at just maintaining that high ground control as we're closing in on our top 5. One more player will go down, and then it's all about getting to the top 3. Boom, we have it. Letwick, Bad Sniper, Froggy, Hen, and Flois, top 5 in game number 1.
And Flois looking to close it out 4 eliminations, but Froggy down below, you cannot count him out yet. He is right there. If he takes down Flois from below, that'll be so huge for him because he will get that shockwave launcher, get that mat refresh. Letwick's very, very low. More than likely going to be edited down. The shots come through, but no, Flois going to be one to take him down. Froggy gets down Hid. In the meantime, 1v1 Froggy versus Flois. The shockwave launcher up above. Froggy trying to dodge him. Flois sending him down. He's trying to, but he's running out of mats. 15 builds remaining, and Froggy does not look like he's stopping anytime soon. Going out in the zone, taking some damage. Going to shockwave himself down. Little Mitro classic. The shotgun does come through. The shockwave is going to send him flying. Shots come through. Flois is going to get the beam, and he takes down Froggy for the victory royale.
Really, really good job from Flois executing on the top-down push with the mythic weaponry, but more importantly, showing the versatility of that shockwave launcher, launching himself down and then finding a gap to launch the opponent out, tracking him, and picking it up with the AR. Match number 1 is done. Fury Flois taking home the victory royale, but we'll see where the leaderboard shakes out. We're going to toss it back on over to Zeke, Shayo, and Balo.
Man, a strong start here in EU, really coming out with a nice flow. Flois finding himself the victory royale. Guys, this final fight between Froggy and Flois, both players walk into that 1v1 with 5 eliminations. The elim and the victory royale is going to be that 4-point swing. This is gonna be a good tone setting for the rest of the competition.
We saw it in every region, right? 1 point matters, and that's a 4-point difference for that win and the elim. The coolest thing, though, to me was the versatility for Flois and how he was playing every single engagement differently and using his entire kit to be able to hold first overall in Europe right now. 6 eliminations, 20 points, and that victory royale.
Yeah, but there's also other people lurking near too, and with only the first game, don't forget there's 6. People are starting to establish themselves. I see Hen in 3rd place right now with 15 points, a sign that he could actually be on that hot streak. Hen, a very hot and cold player. Letwick, though, played significantly well yesterday, and he's there again in towards the top placements, and also with a couple elims to put himself in 4th place, but Kinzel too. And then the rest of this, I think, is kind of maybe a little different than what we might expect in towards the end of the day. You have Carrot, you had Disiptos, you had a Nas. I mean, there are some of these guys who have the potential to win for sure, but I don't know if that's quite it yet.
Yeah, I think at the top, I mean, obviously this is such a strong start. 20 points for Flowis. Now, he's off the line, but he needs to take that next step and turn this into a full-on sprint toward the end. Is this the momentum he needs to do this, though?
Yeah, I mean, for all the people over here, that's the same kind of question, right? And if you haven't seen the standings leaderboard before, the eliminations are the total overall over the 6 games we're playing, as well as the points. And that's a combination of the placement and elims these guys have. So Letshi got 5 points of placement that game in 22nd place, and 2 eliminations. That's 1 point each. But for these guys, they're kind of sitting at 30th place. They don't have to go for a top 25 anymore. No one has to go for top 50. Everyone here is focused on that win, and they're just slightly behind. Still, though, really hot off the gate.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that people have to figure out on this first game. There are a lot of things and changes to what people might have been expecting. The plan, Zeke, you talked earlier about how these guys are all starting to do their research and whatnot. It shifts a little bit in grand finals. People start to make decisions and play with the mind a little bit of each other to, force things that you might not be comfortable with.
A lot of that is going to dictate that drop spot, right? And how that could, I mean, we're talking about 100 of the very best in the world. If I'm going somewhere and my peer is going somewhere that I'm used to playing with and against, that is going to dictate my play and theirs.
I mean, it always starts from the early game, right? Just in general, the entire tournament, from game number 1, your mentality is set in if you do well, if you do bad, and now everyone has different expectations. If you're like Flowis, you're at the top spot. You guys mentioned it. Now it's a game of endurance, of holding it and not faltering when things go bad.
And in the grand finals, we have seen tournament after tournament. Being uncontested increases your chances of winning tournaments by tenfold, if not more than that. So being uncontested means you have nobody landing with you. You might be familiar with landing in a hot spot. You don't want to be doing that in grand finals or in set lobbies at all.
Yeah, the opposite of that is contested when someone is there. And Mr. Savage and Noah Riley are side by side at the yacht on the northern side of the map. 2 other big names on the northern side of the map. 2 other big names all the way at Slippery Swamp, Kiriachi and then Benji Fishy.
Noah Riley was not supposed to go to the yacht with Mr. Savage. Mr. Savage had thought that he had done enough to force nobody to land with him throughout the heats. But you know what changes now for Benji is that Noah was going to be landing in the same main building. And of course, Noah did not want to do that challenge. One of the best players in the world at off-spawn fighting did not want to challenge Benji whatsoever. He'll leave what success he had throughout the qualifiers to end up going against Mr. Savage?
I mean, now it's going to be even harder, I think, for Noah Riley all the way up at the yacht. For Benji, even freer. But how did that look in game number 1, right? We're talking about these names, and we missed one of the biggest ones from the first game, Flowis, who ended up getting the Shockwave loot. Didn't start with it, though. He was at the Orchard.
And a big difference from what we see for Flo is because usually it is the Shockwave loot that he's going for in the early game. That's why he got to this spot, but it doesn't matter. He'll grab it anyways, and he's even contested the Orchard. So all I said, Zeke, about being contested, reducing your chances of winning in grand finals kind of shifts when you see what Flowis just did, and it doesn't matter where you land. You could always stumble across Kit's Shockwave launcher.
And this is kind of like talking about the quality of the players we're seeing, right? Like, yes, of course, we have mythic items to play around, but for someone like Flowis, it's like if he's going to walk up and he's going to take a fight and eliminate you, and that loot's just going to be put in his hands, it's like, okay, I'm already good. I'm already at a 10. You're just giving me that loot and now making me an 11.
Yeah, and also to think about other people who usually have that opportunity to make it through. There was a lot of the big names. I mean, Janice fell off spawn, which you did not expect for him landing at Steamy Stacks with 2 players who play kind of passively in that. He got sniped. There was also a number of different people who fell in the mid game.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing and the number one word for all these players right now is momentum, right? Flo is finding that shockwave launcher, gives them a bunch. Janice getting taken out, as Bala just mentioned, stops the momentum overall, right? So in game number 2, these guys have to find a way to rev their engines faster and then get ahead of everyone else with momentum.
Oh, man, a lot of momentum here to start the day. Now, guys, I do want to continue, but I'm getting word the games are ready. So let's get ready to hop into game number 2 here of the Fortnite Champion Series in Europe. Let's see if the action continues. Sundown, Clay, let's send it back your way.
Thank you so much, Zeke, Shio, and Bala. And I mean, I'm just so excited to see, because I'm a personal fan, or like I'm a advocate for the fact that game 1 is a nice way to set the tone, but you really get an idea of how the leaderboard and how the lobbies are going to play after game 2, because particularly with solos, it's about consistency and who's able to turn over a performance from one game to the next and continue it rolling. And you're really able to see that going down in the second match.
And into the third as well. If you're able to bounce back in that third and you really submit yourself at the top, you got a chance in that 4th, 5th, and 6th game to really turn online. Benji, somebody who definitely needs to turn online, but Savage is going to go down to Noah Riley in the feed. So the contestant happened, and Savage unfortunately falling. Looks like Benji is trying to take down Kiriachi in the time being.
Yeah, Benji trying to set up one of those ambushes here on the side. You can see him trying to pick up Kiriachi as he's going right for those slurp jugs. He is going to find the initial burst shots there, opting not to use that sniper rifle and instead closing the gap on him as fast as possible. We'll see if he's able to get it. White Tags coming through, using the tac shotgun and the high rate of fire to push through the box. And well done, Benji. We talked about the contestant over there, and he says, 0 out of 10 for the effort. The Russian judge doesn't even give him a point. Benji taking it down there, and that's 2 elims right off of the start for him there. You can see in the bottom left-hand corner, the 2 most contested areas are Rig and Salty Springs, each with 5+ players right now. So a lot of space being pushed out, and it's interesting to see 5 players in Salty. I mean, effectively, you're all taking one house of loot and saying, I hope this is enough.
Yeah, I don't know why 5 players are there. And I think it has to do something with Rezon. He scared everybody away from Holly, Hedges, anybody that normally landed in that path. I said, no, I'm just going to go try my chance at Salty there. As we are now over to the Fortia, this is Mongrel, and he's been dropping here for a while. We know that. But he does not have Ocean's Burst AR and Ocean's Bottomless Chug Jug. Someone else may have snagged it from him, and with his aim and with what he can do with it, that Mythic Burst AR is so good here from him. But it looks like he's not going to need it now, as he's going to get some tags going into this slide. That player going to have to back out. Mongrel, though, not going to let him do it. He's got to be careful. He is running out of AR ammo, but he says, you know what? Who needs an AR? I got a shotgun and a crash pad. I'm going into the box. He is going to miss the jump a little bit, almost deploying a crash pad there, but the continued pressure that he's keeping up is trying to keep this player from going any higher, and it's Smudge just trying to get away. He's got a little sliver of HP, but Mongrel going to get in the box and do that Mongrel classic and get the elimination.
And he had to resolve that fight right away, because even picking that up with the additional match drop now only has 52 materials. And while he is in the zone, since it did pull towards that south side, he's going to need to find it. And with so many other players around this area, it's going to be really hard to max out quickly. But now let's hop on board with our match number 1 winner. As you can see, the format in the right-hand side, each elimination being worth a point. You can see once you get into that top 10, you'll have 8 placement points going through, all the way up to 14 for first. Then you can see 11th through 15th is 7, 16th through 20th is 6. It's the intervals of 5, then the intervals of 10. And of course, you get that first placement point after the first 25 players have gone down. So still plenty of players who need to drop here, which generally is a little slower from EU. You'll typically see a little more aggression going on. However, as you get further and further on into tournaments, the stakes and the players become that much more difficult to fight against, and it's really hard to confidently take an early fight, as we have Rax and the Costa Rican Sebi in a battle over here.
Ooh, and Rax on the back foot already. Now, this is that weather station just above Caddy. Sebi going in. The shots are going to go through. He's going to get the initial damage, and he's going to follow up with the AR. The crouch spam, and it's going to pay off for him. The elimination comes through, but now the question posed for Sebi is, can he go get Pit's loot? Can he go get the the shockwave launcher and that charged shotgun, or will he settle for some of the vault loot?
And generally, that's the goal. It's to go through, get whatever you can from the weather station, resolve a fight there, and then head down and hopefully pick up the remnants of whatever happened at Caddy Corner. But now we're going to swing on over to Authority, where we have Letwick. We're in match number 1. He was able to steal away that mythic glider grapple gun and just kind of rotate out. But now, match number 2, you can see Hardfind over on the side, and Hardfind looking to set up a trap and a bait, and we've seen this before a number of times, particularly around that vault area where there are some areas you can't build. Players look to have just an immediate drop, but Letwick is set up really well in terms of his close quarters combat, just having that epic SMG as well as the tactical shotgun and a legendary pistol means he has 3 really high rate of fire weapons that give him plenty of abilities to just spam and pressure Hardfind, who's going to be looking for an ambush here in a second. But right now, both players just farming up.
And it seems like they're respecting each other's areas of this Authority. They kind of know, hey, he's going to be over here. I can tell by how he's looted. I know Letwick's going to be in this side because I know how he looted from Hardfind's perspective. But what's concerning about this is the players that are around. Carrot is there as well. You got 2 other players on the side. But Letwick is playing this very well. He's hitting some things, and then he's standing still. Because that's how the henchmen act. If they walk around, sometimes they'll hit stuff that's in their way, and then they'll stand still as you see one moving there. On the other side, we've got Wolfies, who's in a fight against some Marauders. Hopefully he's able to get out of those. The Marauders are very, very potent. They shoot you, they throw stinks at you, and they just will try to eliminate you at all costs. And they've got very, very good aim, especially with that hunting rifle there in the inventory of the Deadeye Marauder. Wolfies is pretty low, but he's got Ardent pretty low as well, 150 HP. Now the Marauders are coming in here. The third party this fight. Sometimes the third party does not always have to be an actual player. It can be the AI. This is really good for Wolfies. He's allowing the Marauders to go after this player and go after him for him and get the initial damage. But if he goes in, he's got to be careful. He can't look to go in right away with all these Marauders around. If he doesn't do any damage to him, they're going to be very, very, very hard to build through and walk through. As you see, the builds are going to get broken. This is bad for Wolfies. He needs to get rid of the Marauders. The shots are coming in, down to 11 HP. He's only got 2 builds remaining. Launchpad placed. He can't build anymore. Got a player right there in front of him. Sniper shot going to come out, and it does. But he goes down to a Marauder.
Vato getting picked off there, but the Marauders catching Wolfies out. No builds, no natural cover nearby. Ardent soaking most of the aggression. Him opting to go down. Ardent will clean up all of that. So good heads-up plays by Wolfies to pick up the snipe, but the Marauders ultimately enacting their revenge there. And it can be so difficult when you get caught out by them, particularly in the open. The builds that will target those and will try and take them out. You're definitely able to kind of ditch them and get rid of aggro when you're around some of the more natural cover on the map, those houses, the bridges, and the stuff that are nearby. But Vato not going to be happy about that. Was trying to get a little bit of a third-party tag there, and Wolfie's punishing him right before he goes down. He says, hey, if I'm going down, you're coming down with me, and will also deny a key elimination point that could have gone over to Ardent. So ultimately, he's going to be upset his game is over, but at least he was able to pick up a little bit. Is now back on board here with Flois, and as we can see, he's used to fast starts, placing first with 5 elims in Game 1 of Heats as well. So let's see if he can turn this confidence into something more, as he is over on the northeast side of the zone with plenty of players around him. However, he has priority on the rotation, but not a ton of materials to really do it. You don't want to be forced to burn those metal and the brick here. We refer to those as the hard materials, because once they get built up, they provide that much more defense for you. However, just they're so much harder to get naturally as you move through the map that Flo is finding Cammy there, and you can see immediately he's going to head over there because he's like, hey, I need those mats. I need those refreshers. When we talk about refresher in the term, this is it, because that's going to be refreshing for him.
What a shot and a heads-up play by Flois. He desperately needed that, as well as his ammo was pretty low, too. Only 74 AR. That's not enough going into an in-game competitive Fortnite game. You definitely want to have a little bit more like Noah Riley here. Again, takes off Mr. Savage and now has the loot to show for it. The yacht coming in clutch with this loot. He's got this player down, though, with those tags. But the big shield going to be popped there. Now Noah has to be careful. He wants to go aggressive. His instinct is to push in with that crash pad and get the aggressive play. But that player back up to full HP. He's got to be careful. Shots go through the edit. Not going to connect on the shots there. Noah over the top. Shots come through. A 71 tag there for Noah. And now he's going in. Crash pad in. It doesn't matter, though. The Crash Pad is actually going to send him away. He's got to keep the pressure up to keep this player from popping any shields, and he's got the player back and forth, up and down, up and down. He's got the Crash Pad, and he's going in. Shots are going to come through. The player puts the stare over the top of his head, and another good tag there. But Noah's not able to find him. Noah's not able to finish him off. This player continuously layer changing, going up and down in between the builds, and Hydro is just trying to run for their life.
Hydro trying to put as much distance as possible, and unfortunately going to go down there. Good job for Noah Riley on the chase. We talk about how important it is to resolve fights, particularly because you don't want that opponent burning those resources, because when you do take them down, they'll drop them there, and you want to get as much as possible. You can see Noah picking up all of the minis there. He's back up to 6. Good job, still has 4 crash pads. And one thing you'll note in particular when you're looking at these mid-game fights and what you should be keeping an eye on. Anytime a player has crash pads, that will enable them to push into boxes. You've seen it in 2 different ways, both from the top down, where they throw it against one of those cones because it lets them fall in. And then a perfect example, thank you, Ross Orange, for showing it right there, winning the fight against Hardfind very closely with 6 HP. That's the horizontal crash pad, where you line yourself up on the corner of the walls, you throw it against that corner, and it'll end up landing right behind you, and it pushes you forward into the box, but it won't affect the other player. So it allows you to line up your shot ahead of time, and most times it'll also put you behind them, so they're not able to play defensively, as Orange trying to play defensively here, but Bafo just comes in and says, hey, you didn't have enough time to reset and get your shields up. I will take all that loot. Thank you very much.
And that's the dangers of taking a mid-game fight, is that if you take any damage, you're going to get third-party. Players are going to recognize that shield crack sound, and they're going to move in. But on the other hand, look at Letwick. He took that fight, got out, and now is on the move. But Carrot is setting up an ambush for the shots coming through. Letwick has been cracked. Look at the box separation that he just did there from Carrot. Going to buy him time to pass him, and he's the stare over the top is not his. He does get a nice layer change coming out and above, but he doesn't have enough time to pop the big shield. He's just looking to try to pop another mini, and he does get it off. And now he's looking for a shot. He needs to put the pressure back onto Carrot, because if not, then he's just going to keep running around, and Carrot's finally going to be able to get a shot on him. And Carrot decides, you know what? Not worth my time, not worth my materials, not worth my HP. I'm going to disengage.
I'm 50-50 on that. It felt like if Carrot had kind of kept pressing, he might have been able to pick up Letwick, particularly because, look at Letwick, there are only 20 total builds coming out, but that also means if you are able to take him down, you're not going to necessarily get that much back. You'd only get the 35 total, and it's really not going to be that beneficial unless you're able to rotate cleanly off of it. Both have the crash pads, but now you can see fight going on here between Diablo and NXS Z-Andy. Z-Andy on the back foot here, and Diablo trying to push forward somebody we've seen had the capability of playing aggressively. He is above that Storm Surge threshold, so just trying to hunt this player and doing a good job of keeping Z-Andy on the back foot. Does get the cone replaced, owns both, edits back under. Z-Andy able to replace that stay there, so Diablo just going to reset for a second, make sure he's still back up at near that 100-100 threshold, and then Z-Andy going to go down. So good job making sure he picked that one up. Z-Andy was below that Storm Surge threshold. Diablo will see that coming through. The Storm Surge will take that over. So that's what we talk about right now. You can see on the right-hand side, Diablo is currently 130 damage above. Z-Andy was below, which means he takes that 25 damage every 10 seconds. And it also signals to Diablo, hey, I can just tag this guy up and then wait, because any damage he does to that player, as long as they go down within a minute, he will still get credit for that elimination. He will still get the point. Then he can go over and safely pick up that loot.
That is another aspect of competitive Fortnite that everyone has to think about. That Storm Surge, it plays a factor into so many of these players' games. Sometimes they forget about it because they're pumping, they're rolling, they got their mats, they got their ammo, they got their builds, they're in zone, and then they're like, wait, I didn't tag anybody this game. I got to look for tags. Frenzy Fishy on the other side above, and a good amount above. If you're about 100 to 150 above, you're looking at a good spot. As shots come through, he's going to take advantage and find swaps with one AR shot. That is what you needed. We saw Thomas HD do that in the first game. Just find any sort of elimination that you can, far away or up close. Don't even have to risk yourself getting tagged up for it. Beautiful elimination.
Yeah, but you notice how he's doing that behind a cone and editing a single wall. That's to avoid all of those hunting rifle headshots that we've seen come out time and time again. You don't want to get a game ender looking for some of those tags to make sure you're safe. But that being said, when we talk about tags and going through, that's generally meaning you're looking for long-range shots, not with the intention of actually trying to eliminate the opponent, but just doing some damage so you're not threatened by the Storm Surge, as Flois ends Froggy and puts a prime example of why you need a cone in a window and to limit the number of angles you have, because so many of these top-level players will be carrying those weapons, particularly in EU, that is known for their snipes and hitting their shots. Well done from the game #1 winner, who's continuing to roll with the momentum here, boxed up next to Ardit, passive over the side, as we're transitioning now into that mid-game kind of territory as players are starting to get closer and looking for priority in terms of zone number 4.
What an elimination. He needed it too. He only had 2 hunting rifle shots. That first shot needed to hit. He didn't really have a chance to follow up if it didn't. Very heads-up play by Flois. First place, taking down second place. That is, hey, that's pretty good for your mentality. Even if he goes down here and be like, hey, I took out my competition, so I know I'm pretty secure there. But we're still pretty early on into the games, so you can't really do much with it.
And it's important to note when they stress during the top of show how every single interaction matters. Right there, Flois eliminating his direct competition right now, the player who is closest to him, who's able to pressure up. That means if he's able to build up a lead now, it's going to be that much more substantial, because effectively he's eliminated one of the players who can threaten him the most, as now we're on board here with ADN. We saw him have an amazing run yesterday, pushing in. Right there, you can see the Dorito edit being taken down, and that's such a good push. Fastroki was looking to set up a crash pad there with that edited cone in his box, but ADN dropped in and then occupied the space, stuck to the AR, and then just used the weapon to close it out. Well done getting a key pick there in a mid-circle.
And he desperately needed his mats were not looking good. Still are not looking good as well. So he's going to have to find another impact elimination along the way, as we're on board here with Ardit. Again, mats are not looking good. Now, there is a player's loot there in front of him that he more likely got the elim from. He's not actually prioritizing picking it up right now. It seems like he's just looking to build and then go for the loot. Mr. X is nearby. Benji's nearby as well. Artist in an awkward spot. We've got Scram in this game here as well. Handy, passive, slick. A lot of players still alive. 61. When we talk about Storm Surges, this is a threshold where it's 50. 11 players need to go down. Darda makes a heads-up play to get a box, and Crash Pad's going to come through, but that's bad for him. Unless he hits the shot. Shots come through, and he does. Maestro going to go down the aggressive play, not going to be rewarded. And Ardit will be rewarded for his passiveness.
Yeah, and you can see the reason why so many players are fighting right now, both that Storm Surge and trying to get priority. We talk about 4th zone. Look in the bottom right-hand corner. Everyone is looking to box up and stake their claim on as much real estate as possible for when that half-in, half-out reveals. You don't want to be sharing a spot next to somebody as you go to rotate, and they're looking to clear out the players nearby as Ardit picks up Flois there. So 1 and 2 are down. That's going to open up the leaderboard. Tons of players will have an opportunity to charge up. Eyes are now on Hen and whether or not he can kind of extend his lead out there, as Ardit also picks up Lechi. Mongrel getting scout there in a brilliant job, because he's now cleared out all the players on this tarp. In that next, the half-in, half-out, the one before moving, is pulling directly over to this cluster of players. So Tayson, Benji, Keelix, Wyzip, Mr. X will all be over there sharing the half-in, half-out with Ardit. They all have priority on everyone else who's rotating into the zone. So they're going to be fighting among themselves to make sure they're safe and not going to get ambushed, and then swap over to what Tayson's doing now and looking to catch the players, burning their rotation, burning launch pads and crash pads, trying to get into this zone.
And this is very lucky for Tayson, because, again, express the amount of builds in the inventory. He only had 54. That is not where you want to be for this endgame. So he has to find an elimination to get to these moving zones effectively. He does have the 6 crash pads, but when you start to use those crash pads, you start wasting those builds as you box up, and he needs to find somebody. As shots come through, he's not going to be able to beam people out of the air just yet, as we do see Nebby unfortunately falling, but he did get that top 50 placement threshold, which is what a lot of people are playing, that consistency. Hey, at least I went down inside of that. Tayson, however, is looking to get aggressive, and I believe that's on, I think this is Benji. I'm 97% sure Benji is right nearby. If Benji makes the wrong edit, he goes into a box that's not his. Tayson is going to go aggressive. You see the big shoulder's going to be popped. Edit's going to come through. No crash pad in. Shots coming through. And Benji's going to go down. Tayson going to take him down.
You called it. He was looking for it, waiting for Benji. He heard him trying to set up and get some space, knew he was pressured around the side. The horizontal crash pad entrance puts him behind Benji, cleans it up with the tactical shotgun, and well done. And Hen, the third place player on the leaderboard before the last game, going on the high ground right now, has priority position with Enos and Mongrel just below him. Also Floki on the same ground, but we're going to hop on over to the Become Legends player. He's been playing so well recently, cleaning up the Cash Cup on his birthday. Had a phenomenal performance yesterday to also guarantee him spot here, and he has priority on this next zone. What that means is he's the closest to where the safe zone has to go past. So as it funnels and everyone else rotates, they have to go past Hen. You do not get to past Hen, and you notice he's built so much space around him, so he can't be shot at in return. All of these shots are completely safe, so anything he's able to convert on will turn into points for him here, as another placement point does take over. Now he's not shooting through that wall. That is just one of the graphical issues with the replay. He's picking up tags, but now you can see setting up a crash pad, going to use it to go on the rotation late. And he picked up a key elimination onto YZip there, as we have our top 35.
And it's such a key elimination because he gets Jules' glider gun, and now he's got free rotation everywhere. He could win this game based off that elimination. It was such an impact elimination, but he's being a little bit too greedy on that zone. He did get tagged up, but he's still good. Rotation coming in. We do see Sapphic going down, and rotation X Squeeze went down as well. So a lot of the big names are out of this game, but Hand looking to keep his stream alive and take down one player who landed right on top of him. That was a very, very heads-up elimination onto Pablo, but he's not that healthy. He has those minis in his inventory, about 126 effective HP. He needs to find another one.
He needs to find the outside. He can't be in this cluster. It's really weird to take the grapple gun and then immediately go into the middle, because you don't really have the ability to utilize it, and that's what we're looking for, getting towards the outside of the zone so he has more options there. Anas, teammate up on the high ground there, but this is the solos competition, just playing for the same org. You have Gamers Origin, Deceptos there on the middle as we tick over top 25. Another point going through. Anas running through the high ground. Reason still in the match, and you can see Deceptos picks up Ardit there as top 20 ticks over. Another point going through, and right as I say his name, Reason ends up going down. This is looking like a Become Legends top 15 right now, as they have 3 or 4 players still up, but Deceptos trying to find the space, finding a good job, tarping his way through and making sure that he owns all of the builds on this level as we close in on top 15. Bad Sniper missing out on a key placement point, and Deceptos looking to try and find a pick on this Crash Pad player, doing a good job to deny the rotation, finds a tag, but not able to necessarily convert it. So many shots, but no elimination coming through, and he has to find that. That's such a key pickup. Inside the top 15 we go. Can he chase down this player? And he finally gets it. That snipe going down, but Hen is still up, picking up Orion as we get into our top 10.
Deceptos is going to have to make a play as it's going up a little bit of an incline. You see it. Old builds are there as well. Hen is going to fall. Slick going to fall in tandem. Top 10 placement points being missed out by both of them. That's a huge boost as well. Deceptos able to hold on to the player on the other side. Shots are coming through. He's getting the tags, and he does. Frenzy Fishy is going to go down. Deceptos needs to get out of zone, though. He is sitting and ticking. He doesn't have any floppers. He's looking to get in, and he does, but a shot comes through. Floki going to be the one to take him down, and now 2 eliminations here for Floki. The player right on top of him. He's got to be careful. Shots go through. Back into zone goes Floki. Ticking down very, very low. Now inside of zone, he's good to go, but this is looking really, really rough. He doesn't have floppers. Mr. X is going to go down. Stacy going to be the one to do it. He's still trying to be popped there. And look at Anas just Tyro whopping all the way up top. He's just walking over old builds. I don't know how many builds he's got left, but he may be able to win this just solely based on the fact that's going over old builds.
And the old builds giving him priority. That moving zone, we talked about it. It just randomly pulls a distance back away, which means you can continue your rotation. And on top of having the old builds, his saving grace has the mythic loadout as well. So this is so big for him as we move into the top 5. 4 players left, but Anas has complete control over this lobby. You can see Tayson as well in the middle. Scramguard and Snazy are going to round out your top 4. Who will finish it off? Will Anas continue the run of the caddy corner loot, proving it out, or can somebody from the low ground shut him down as Tayson picks up Scramguard? So each elimination, each placement here, an additional point as Tayson ends Snazy right there. But the shockwave launcher comes out right away and knocks him over to the zone. And Anas does get tagged, but he's able to pop the flop in the zone and then gets the follow-up tag with 6 HP to spare. Become Legends Anas from the high ground. 4 eliminations in the victory royale, taking game number 2.
The flop was